And hello everybody, welcome back to RSC News. Here to react to Rangers 0, Celtic 0, and of course losing 4-2 on penalties there at the end. Now again, look, what do I have to say with regard to this Rangers team? Well, that penalty shootout summed up our performance. Just toothless, genuinely. We can get onto the penalties and talk about how horrific some of those penalties were. To be fair, from Tavernier, again, hits the bar. Would have been a decent one. Look, I'm not so focused on that, but again, he doesn't really live up to his tag, right? He's living up to that tag. People are trying to defend Tavernier all the time. People saying serial loser, doesn't turn up at the big moment, and then we need him to score the penalty to set the tone, and he hits the bar. And Tavernier rarely misses penalties. However, regardless, still an annoying one. Gassama, the boy that freaking hit the ball over the bar, I honestly... I understand penalties can be, hit or miss, but I don't think a professional footballer paid £30,000 per week can sky a penalty like that. That is that is shambles. That is diabolical. You shouldn't be able to be a professional footballer by doing that. A professional footballer, it is their job. They should at least be hitting the target from 12 yards, not skying it over the bar. Regardless, we probably would have lost anyway because Jack Butland didn't look like he was going to be saving any penalties in that penalty shootout, which I'm surprised with because I think Jack's actually quite good at saving penalties. He's got a pretty good record, to be fair, in actual games. So I was surprised by, how poor he was in the net. But regardless, it just summed up the day, just completely toothless. Now, the game we can talk about, I think an uneventful 90 minutes, really. Again, I feel like we were the side that had majority of the ball, especially into extra time, all of the time, but just no like real clear-cut chances. Nothing to really, hang your hat on and say, look, we had so much possession, but what for? Really, what for? We weren't creating anything, and we didn't even come close to scoring a goal. Of course, people are going to talk about that goal in extra time. It was handball, blatant handball, and that's obviously the closest we got to a goal. But it's shambolic, it really is. And we can sit here and talk about, there's not much to dissect from the game apart from being toothless. You can pick out individuals who aren't really good. I think we've seen the Schmitty of normal. Everyone's hyping up Schmitty on being this sort of big game player. Well, didn't necessarily create much today. Nadiri, again, not really doing too much. Obviously holds the ball up quite well. Skovossin, I fully expect him to be going back to Germany as well after his loan move. But my goodness me, just absolutely shocking. It truly is. But the atmosphere at Ibrox was one of the best that's in for a while. And the fans the fans are doing the part, right? We're coming to the business end of the season. But when it comes to those big games, we just don't do it. We don't turn up. We don't win. We don't win matches. And that's the frustrating thing here. And this is why I don't think we'll win the title this season. People will say, oh, we're going to win the Scottish Cup. Bollocks. Bollocks. It was a Celtic reserve team, let's be honest. They had a few players missing their captain, missing a few other players. It was a put-together Celtic team. Martin O'Neill was like, well, let's get to penalty shootout, and that was it. That's obviously their remit of the day, was just to sit back, and we didn't do anything. That's the frustrating thing, and for me, again, it's probably on the manager and the players as well, but I'm sick of it. I've come numb to it, to be fair, because I'm just used to losing and just being disappointed every time I watch Rangers play in big games, This is what the last sort of 4 years has done to me. Ever since Seville in 2022, I'm just numb. I'm numb to it now, right? Because I'm just expecting it. As soon as I went to penalty shootout, I was like, it's done. It's done. I knew we were going to lose the penalty shootout. I just knew it. You just have a feeling in you, and I just knew when it went to penalties, we lost the game. And I was obviously right, and obviously I didn't want to be, but yeah, this is bullshit. It truly is. What's next for us? Well, it's the league. Can you really hang your hat on these guys to get the job done in the next games? Probably not, let's be honest. And I'm not even just saying this in the heat of the moment. We're probably not going to be doing anything. We're probably not going to be winning anything. We'll probably tease us. They'll probably come out and win the next couple of games, and then we'll think, oh, we're in it. We're in the mix here. We're 3 points behind Hearts here. We're 1 point behind Hearts here. And when it comes to the moment where we actually leapfrog Hearts potentially, then we just won't do it. We just won't do it. We're going to the split. We'll shit the bed. We'll lose the Hearts. We'll lose the Celtic. It'll be between those two. And then we'll just be out of the conversation. But they will give us a little glimmer of hope in the next couple of games. They'll bounce back from this game. I expect us to probably go and win the remainder of the games in the split. get within touching distance where we're all like, oh, well, the Scottish Cup doesn't matter now then because, well, they're on the course to win the title. And then we'll just get to the split, shit the bed, and end up the season with absolute fuck all, which is certainly becoming a common theme, which I never grew up watching. Rangers going season after season without trophies. But yeah, shocking. It really is. I'm pissed off. And yeah, especially in that game. So dominant, but for what? Completely toothless throughout the game. And yeah, I mean, I've got the stats here. Let me get the stats here. This just goes to show what this game was like. Let me get the stats up for you. Raging, man. This just shows the dominance, but just nothing. Absolutely nothing. Here you go. Here's the stats. I mean, it doesn't matter now anyway, does it? I mean, I'm hanging on, right? I suppose. All right, here you go. Look at the state of this. Look at the state of that. Celtic came to Ibrox to pay for penalties. 56 possession, total possession, ball possession, whatever. 12 total shots from Rangers. Shots on target, 6. Fouls committed, 13. Offsides, 1, whatever. 12 corners. Look at this. Shots, 0. Shots on target, 0. Fouls committed, 19. Offsides, 2. Corners, 4. Pure dominance, but nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. Bullcrap, man. Absolute bullcrap. Oh. Worst Celtic team probably ever, and they scalped us twice on our ground. Embarrassing. Well, they didn't beat us. I mean, twice. We got a draw in the last game, but regardless, I get your point. Yeah, I mean, they are shocking. They truly are shocking. I seen the fallout coming out from the Aberdeen game. He just got beat Dunfermline. They were holding on against them, by the way. They are shocking, and you're right to be angry about it. They are shocking, and that's the point. They are really, really bad. But you know what? What I'll give a little bit of credit for, and there's some Celtic fans in here, so I'll give you guys some credit where it's due. You get the job done. No one gives a shit about possession. No one cares about how you win. You obviously came to Ibrox with the remit of getting to penalties. And fair enough, it worked. And you got to penalties and you got the job done. Well done. You're through to the next round. And you're probably going to have another trophy in your cabinet. So there's a lesson to be learned there. They find ways of winning. We could look like we're controlling the game, but actually just do nothing. Absolutely nothing. Edward says, season over again. Yeah, it's mental. It truly is. It's shocking. But it gets to the point now where you become just numb to it. Like, I say numb's the wrong word. Well, it is the right word. Actually, that's how I feel. I'm just like, I just got to penalties and that was the game over for me. I don't know if there's any of you guys in the live chat that felt the same way. As soon as it got to penalties, I knew we were losing it. I just knew it. I knew we were going to lose the game as soon as it got to penalties. And that's why, and even I just wanted us to go on and create. You do something with that possession. Toothless. Absolutely mental, Dan. Seriously, Rangers 24 shots and Celtic only 1 shot. Rangers nearly 60% possession and most of the time in Celtic's box. Yeah. We need a captain to stand tall. Not first time either. We should have crushed their reserve team. It's shocking. They had 0 by the looks of things. Well, what I'm looking at in terms of the stats. How on earth did you lose this match? Celtic had 1... I don't know. Suter nearly gave it away for us, to be fair. Suter nearly gave it away for us in extra time right at the end. He freaking missed pass. And I was saying that guy's a bomb scare. I don't want to be seeing him next year. But with next year FC, I know it's the meme that the Celtic fans use that stick to prod us with, but we're talking about next season now. What are we going to do next year? Oh, this player can't be here next year. Oh, this player can't. Like, I'm in this seat like for the last 3 years on the bounce, talking about next season. I'm sick of talking about next season. I'm looking at the table now, right? We're in third. We're 6 points behind Hearts. We've just shot ourselves in the foot in every single game where it's like, oh yeah, this is a must-win game. They can't get over the line. Remember when we started talking about must-win games? We started talking about must-win games at the start of February against Hibernian. We drew. Then we started talking about must-win games against Motherwell. We drew. We did win a must-win game against Hearts, to be fair to us, 4-2. Then we had another must-win game against Livingston. We drew. We had a must-win game against Celtic at Ibrox. We drew. And then we had another must-win game here today where we can get a chance to get our hands on some silverware. We draw and then lose on penalties. So let's see what happens next week against St Mirren. As I said, I have no doubt that we'll probably beat St Mirren. We'll beat Aberdeen. We'll beat Dundee United. We'll beat Falkirk, get us in a position where we're 1 point behind. And then when we go into the split, we'll shit the bed. They'll just give us a little bit of hope. They will give us a little bit of something where we feel like, oh, you know what? It's not too bad. And then when the chance is there for them to get their hands on some silverware, they'll just shit the bed. I promise you. I promise you. I know what this lot are like. I've seen these faces time and time again. User says I'm not even angry, which is crazy. I was more angry after the last game last week because it felt like a defeat than this one. But I made peace with it when we went to penalties. I don't know about you guys. I was in Seville and man, I've got PTSD with penalties and Rangers. Like, I don't know. I feel like a Vietnam veteran. As soon as penalties come around, man, I can't stand them. It's that same feeling that I had in Seville. Sick in the stomach. Not to lose into them, but just when penalties are on. Horrible feeling. But again, Tavernier missed it early on, and I was like, all right, that's us done. There's no way we're coming back from this, so it's done. So should have bringing a lot more like Shankland. Up top, just toothless. Like, you hang your hat on players like Chimiti. Nadiri is still new. I get it, right? He's still new, but he's only scored 1 goal against Queen's Park, right? I suppose he's a bit of a hold-up player, but, you know, I've not seen enough from the forward players. I really haven't. And then you take off Mikey Moore. That was another point that I wanted to say here. Why is Mikey Moore going off in the 70th minute? I could see it was going extra time even. Like, Bayrami, you're bringing on Bayrami. Bayrami's been dug me. Bayrami, for me, is dog shit. And I'm sorry to the guy. He seems like a nice guy, but he's dog shit. We've been watching this guy now for 2 years. He's done absolute fuck all. He's piss. He's mince. And then the only player that's actually playing well, Mikey Moore, he's 18 years old, by the way. He's playing once a week. We take him off in the 70th minute for a tank to, I don't know, just put Bayrami on. You're like, for fuck. I'd rather a fatigued Mikey Moore who's played 70 minutes than putting on Bayrami. We would have probably won the game, having Mikey Moore on, especially going into extra time. Shocking decision. Truly is. Bayrami is dog shit. And he's not the only one either, by the way. Mentality is weak. Should look at Falkirk as an example. We aren't winning the league. The mentality is weak, not on roll. It's on the players. You're right. We ain't winning the league. And I hate to be a defeatist. And there's going to be a lot of old boys in here and saying, Dan, you don't know nothing. There's plenty of time to go. I know because I've been watching this shit for fucking years now. And it's the same old crap when it comes to the business end. When it comes to a moment for these players to get their hands on a bit of silverware, I look at the trophies that we've won, right? The League Cup. Okay. We played Aberdeen in the final. I mean, you've got to be seriously bad if you were to fuck that up against Aberdeen, right? So, yeah, fair enough. We won that one. But all the other cup finals were always off the back end, and they're always going, oh, Celtic, jammy bastards. Yeah, Celtic are jammy bastards, but they find ways to win, right? They're at the end of the season sitting around with silverware. We're fucking not. I don't care how much possession you have. I'd rather be in their position in terms of today than our position where we had 24 shots on goal. Yeah, but they're through to the next round. So what? They will win the trophy because there's no fucking good team left in the Scottish Cup. Shocking. The world's jammiest team. Yeah, well, they still win, don't they? And they're still in the title race somehow. They're fucking ahead of us. They're ahead of us in the title race. These guys should have been buried ages ago, Celtic. They're still alive. And they're ahead of us in the league. I wouldn't even be surprised if they go and win the title. I hope not, obviously. I've kind of wrote Rangers' chances off just because I've seen the mentality. I hope Hearts can go and do it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting there come the end of May and Celtic have won the title. Oh, crap. Mikey Moore is by far our best ball handler, makes so many chances. Exactly. Why do you take him off on the 70th minute? I didn't get that move. Obviously, you thought, oh, Bayrami's going to be there to see us over. At least keep him on for the full 90, Mikey Moore. Don't take your best player off. That's actually creating chances. Don't take him off. If he's knackered, then he can play 90 minutes, for God's sake. He's a professional footballer. He's 18 years old. Bayrami, God's sake. I mean, they bottled the League Cup versus St. Mirren, so it's not over at Hampden. Yeah, but they actually have Martin O'Neill. And I don't think Martin O'Neill is a saint as they portray him to be. But, I mean, it's not, you know, if that Willie was his name, Nancy. If O'Neill was in charge of Celtic in that League Cup final, they would have won the game. There's no doubt about that. It's because of that Nancy bloke. So they'll win a game. They'll win the match. And I don't take great pride in freaking giving Celtic flowers, but fair enough. They get the job done. That's something that we need to learn to do. They're having their worst season ever, or at least worst season since 2021, I suppose. And they're still probably going to end the season with a cup and potentially a league title. Potentially. Thing is, half our team have mentality, half don't. We need whatever Mikey Moore has. And it's a shame that this boy's going to be leaving next season because I would have loved to have built a team around him. I would have loved to have him at Rangers for a long time. I'm hoping Spurs get relegated. I mean, I actually don't know where I stand on it because if Spurs get relegated, then he'll be playing week in and week out probably in the Championship. But then again, I think he's too good for the Championship. I think he's too good for the Championship. I think I'm just trying to convince myself that I would love to have him back. But he's the only really good player that I'm like, you know what? What a player. What a player we have there. But he's not ours. And it's a shame. I would bring on Mivioski in the second half of extra time instead of Suter to probably go for them. They were there for the... Yeah, you're right. That is a questionable change. Was Mivioski on the bench? If Mivioski was on the bench, then that's a shocking one. Why would you put another defender on? Especially in those last 15 minutes. Was he there? Substitute. Yeah, Mivioski. Yeah, he was there on the bench. Bull crap, man. Bullshit. Shocking, man. Finish with these bottle merchants. People wonder why Roll didn't make changes last week. There's your answer. Embarrassing. The only change that really got me was bring Suter on instead of Mivioski. Yeah, you're right. Why is he shutting up shop? They weren't doing anything. Put more attackers on. Get the game done. You truly couldn't. Surely at half time in the second half of extra time after what you'd seen, you go, oh, you know what, I'm going to settle for penalties. No, fuck that shit. Vote Restore Britain says, need better middle, better winger, and centre forward. Yeah. Bomb scare Suter, no thanks, take Gassimer with you. Gassimer for me, I mean, I know he's not the only one that missed the penalty, but God's sakes, a professional footballer shouldn't be missing a penalty like that. I get it, right? Yeah, get it on target at least. You pay 30 grand a week. It's your job to at least stick it on target. There's no excuse for skying up there. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy with footballers that sky penalties like that. It's literally their freaking job to be able... He obviously thinks he's in the top 5 penalty takers in our Rangers squad, and he skies it over the stadium. It's like, you shouldn't... The bare minimum, man, as a footballer is hit the freaking target. Idiots. Couldn't beat the worst Celtic team in years in 2 home games. Yeah, you're right, Sparky Malarkey. Yep, you are right. And that should anger you Rangers fans because it isn't freaking good enough. And that's the reason why I'm highlighting his chat, because I want people to see that. Yes, we fail. In the business end, we're mocking, right? We're mocking Celtic constantly and laughing at some of their results. But they're still ahead of us in the table. They're still on course to Hampden. And we're sat here thinking, oh, we have a good chance of winning the title. They have a better chance of winning right now than us. They're ahead of us on the table. And we still got to go to Celtic Park and we still got to go to Tynecastle in the split. I just don't see it. Gossamer is just another fashion Sakala or Matondo. George says, I hate that Gossamer, not just for the penalty. He's a player that annoys me. You know, it's the weirdest thing, you know, I ever seen was at the start of the season. I think back-to-back Panathinaikos games in the Champions League, right? And we seen him just burst onto the scene, quite literally, score a good few goals. I think he was like 3 goals in 2 games or whatever, and assist in that as well. And I was like, we've got a player on our hands here. I remember seeing some of their fan base, was it Peterborough, that were like, oh yeah, you've got a great player in your hands. I was like, what kind of beast have we just stolen for like £1 million? And then you see him after them games, he's been absolutely absent. He's been like an empty jersey. He's been absolute dog shit. Nord-Celt says, Spend FC battered by Celtic reserves. Now, this is my only coping mechanism. Is that we're no longer under the old guard, right? We're no longer under the old regime. The guys that were freaking skint, dinosaurs, didn't know how to operate the football club. And whilst this is not going to be antidote for right now, obviously we want to be successful this season. Yeah, these guys are Spend FC. These guys that we've got as owners will just keep spending until they win. So I have no doubt that Rangers will be successful and we will be the dominant force in Scottish football, especially if you look at the way the other side in Glasgow don't spend money. So yes, we'll get nicknamed Spend FC. And if we lose the title this year, we will go into the summer and spend more money. And if we don't win next season, we'll spend more money. And these guys are competent, right? They are more competent, regardless of their signing of Russell Martin. These guys are football people. They're competent. And they will keep spending until we will win. So that's my only sort of coping mechanism. And then once we get to the top of Scottish football, they won't fall asleep at the wheel like the old regime either. So that's my only coping. But obviously that doesn't take away of losing a Scottish Cup quarter-final at Ibrox against Celtic, and certainly doesn't take away the fact that I still want to win the title this year. I would say with this mentality, we have more chance of finishing below Motherwell than gunning for Hearts. No, because they'll just give you enough, right? They'll give you enough, right? I genuinely do believe, right? We're not winning the title. But I do believe now that there's a bit of pressure off them. They work good with no pressure. So there's not really too much pressure on them. They'll give you a sense of a false dawn. And I promise you they'll win these next games. They'll win all these games before the split. And they'll give you a false dawn. You'll think they'll get you behind. They'll get you believing. We'll probably come in with a point. Hearts will drop some points. We'll come in with a point, 2 points of Hearts at the top. Celtic will probably, drop a couple points as well. And they'll give us a sense of a false dawn. We'll go into the post-split, and I promise you now, we will shit the bed. And it will likely be a draw against Hearts, loss against Celtic, and then we'll lose some other game in there in the split as well. Lose against Motherwell, and then win like the last game of the season when the title's over. That's just the way it will be. They'll make you feel like you got something left. No confidence in the team and the overall management of Rangers. It doesn't matter when they play well because in a month or two they become bottle merchants. 0 confidence for next season. We are the Scottish Tottenham. Rangers Hotspur. Oh, I suppose they won the Europa League. The 90s was the best. Almost all British who get the club in history and it was always excellent players. It just baffles me how people don't back roll. This is how we circle back to another Russell Martin. We got rid of Gio, got Beal. No, guys, I'm not roll out. I'm not a part of that. I have seen some sections of the fan base, I suppose, online on Twitter that have said that they want Danny roll out. I don't think you can say get Danny roll out, for God's sake. We wouldn't have been in a title race if it wasn't for him, right? And sometimes, yes, the manager is not inept to blame in every single circumstance, right? Of course he's not. But today's evidence wasn't coaching. It wasn't poor coaching. It was just toothlessness up top, right? And you could probably say in the Old Firm game against Celtic at Ibrox last week, it was probably a case of, sitting back. That should be happening. That was on the manager. I did put the blame on the manager in that one. And there's some ones where, you know, where we've been 1-0 up and we just sit back. That's on the manager, I suppose. But there's certain things there that need to think. I'm not Danny Roll out by any means. Bearing in mind, he's still got, you got to remember how these players, the same players started the season. They were fucking a shambles as well. Russell Martin was stinking, but they were a shambles in a lot of those games as well. Don't forget that. So, no, I'm firmly Danny Roll in still, of course. Yeah, I would agree with that, George Talk Sense. The only players I thought was good today was Moore, Chukwueze, and Fernandez. Very true. I liked them. I think you're right on that one. But guys, I'm done with this. It's Sunday. I'm gonna go chill out. Try not to let football ruin your life that much. I know it's hard as us Rangers supporters, but yeah, you soon get used to it. It's becoming all too common. But guys.